Hello all. A few challenges just before we went on air, but sure, that's normal. I think the fairies are really out to get us, and we just have to turn down the volume. No little challenge. Right out. So we have that. I was trying to get my background organised so I'd be pretty and organised, but as I say, the fairies are really getting the better of us on this August one. So great to see you all there. Mary has seen it in the live chat. All the people who are there. Um, So that's all good. Hopefully you can all see the picture of myself with my bad background in position in the background. And we will get stuck into the August challenge. On the evening, we had the trouble. We were doing it on Zoom, and the Zoom broke down. It was a great exercise in doing it. So since that, we put a lot of effort in to try and get this live stream up and running. And I think the fairies have been against us all the way because there's been quite a few challenges, and we put a lot of effort into it. Edna has been a great help, and she's very much involved with it, and has put most of this August challenge together. I have sent out to you earlier on the PDF file of all the comments that the judge made, and on this occasion, when we gave the images to the judge, she went and put comments into our Dropbox that we had sent her, which was all new for us, and it looked really well there. And I've had a link to that Dropbox up on the website. I have it under the blog area. You got to go over to the blog area, and it's in there with the blog. And I've also sent out to you on WhatsApp a link to the PDF of all the comments. Etna has copied and pasted and sorted out and put it into a really understandable document, and it will be a great help for you tonight as we are going through the images, because we are having issues with sound. I presume there's no problems with sound. And you're getting the comments, Mary, yes? Yeah. So anybody having trouble with sound, let me know. It looks good. No problems with sound? No. Agnes had a problem? Oh, that's great. That's great. To sort it out between yourselves. That is absolutely brilliant, because it's hard to do everything. So if you have that PDF document that I sent you this morning, and have it open on your phone while you're looking at the this live stream, it will be a help to you, because sometimes the sound goes a little bit astray for us. We tried everything to try and sort it out, and we couldn't figure out where it is. There's one bit towards the end that is a little bit echoey, and that was my fault. So we at least if something goes wrong, we know where it has gone wrong. Right then, so the first thing that we did was we had a look at what the judge had to say about the macro photographs. So let's have it. We recorded this a couple of days ago, and this is a result of the judge's comments, and Etna and I have had a little discussion about it, and as we go through the different images. So here we go. Now, Etna, it's great to have you here today, and we're going to go through the comments from the judge. Unfortunately, the judge can't be with us, but she has given us the comments, so hopefully we'll go through them together, and you can call out the comments, and we'll have a little discussion between ourselves about the image and what she had to say. So are we ready to start?
Yes, nice to be here. Thank you.
Okay, here we go. Here's the first image. A1.
This first image, A1, is by Agnes Friday, called Poppies and Daisies. The comments are, nice poppy, colour held well. I would like to see it cropped a little tighter. The green stalk in the upper right-hand corner leading you out of the image and a little distracting, so crop down from that corner.
All right, that's there's lots of people who have put in images, and sometimes, as you know, I know a little bit about the backstory as to where they are in their world. And Agnes put this photograph in. She's one of a little group that I've set up for people who didn't realise they knew as much about digital and using digital as what they actually do. And we have a small little group going, and Agnes is one of our members, and she's getting better and better day by day as she's in the group, and learning a huge amount about photography and putting up images. So the main part of this with my group was to get an image up and get the system to work. And yet she takes lovely photographs, and you will see that. And yes, I agree, and she'll probably agree as well, that all this outside here is a little bit on the clutter side. But well done, Agnes.
Yes,
we
have a nice colour contrast in it.
Yes, yeah. Lovely colour contrast in it. So that was A1. B1.
This is by Dennis Maloney. Comments are, nice colours here, but perhaps crop in tighter to just show the lilies. Getting rid of the yellow leaves and some of the black of the left side. Colours of flowers captured well.
Yeah, I would agree with her, and that's, you know, that's obvious up there in the top right hand corner. When you look at a photograph and you're putting it in, one of the places you should really run your eye is always around the extreme, and see if there's anything out there in the extreme that might catch your eye or attention. And I agree with her about the cropping, because very often less is more. All right, so we'll just play with it a little bit and put in the adjustments. Crop first, I suppose. Yes, what she was saying was to go in a little bit tighter. This is just the piece of software that comes within the computer itself. We'll bring it to customs ratio, because we're working in digital. We're not trying to get it to fit into a. Now this can be quite challenging at times to get it to oblige. As you can see by coming in tighter, how the image and plus the yellow is going up on top. Now you can spend a lot longer on this and get a better crop on this, but what I always like, go into the adjustments, I think it could be just that little bit darker as well, right, just to put a little bit more punch into it, right. And I always like the idea of darkening around the outside, and here it gives you the facility of vignetting. There it is going. See the way it just makes it darker on the outside when I bring it in and out, and it just holds the picture in. And a little movement brings a good picture even into a much better picture. Right, and we'll undo that one, and we go back to the next image. So that was Dennis. Well done, Dennis.
Great. This is C1 by Gary Sinnott. It's called Verbena Neon Rose. Comments are, another one you can crop in tighter and eliminate some of the distracting features. Perhaps a square crop.
I think so as well. And you know, he's done really well with getting the drops of rain on it. That really looks well. Or bring a spray bottle with you is the other way of doing the same idea. Cropping so tight on the side there, it kind of maybe needs to have the flower in, and I would agree, yes, you know, maybe a square, because remember, when we're working in digital, we're not restricted to any aspect ratio. We can put any version into it that we like, and that is our ability to when we're seeing photographs, not just the shape that it comes on the camera. Nicely done, Gary. This one is by
Susan Brown, called Wild Berries. Comments are, love this image, beautiful contrast between the reds and greens, slightly tighter crop will eliminate the dark corners, overall a very pleasing image.
Yeah, I was when I was looking at it, I was, you know, I was saying that, you know, like in the previous one where I just did the vignette on it, right, just around the side adjustments, and I just did the vignette to, that was the opposite to what the judge suggested, was not to have it dark out there, but well, it's gone white. That's the opposite side of vignetting. That little bit of darkness around the outside pulls you in more into the center where the action is in here. So I think maybe a little bit of vignetting on the outside would improve it. It's a very simple photograph, and there's a lot going on in it, and you know, and it is a square, almost a square format. So yes, a lovely shot.
Yes. the highlights on the berries, which are nice.
Yes, 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 very much so. Nicely exposed as well.
This is E1, Rory Summers. Comments are crop tighter. Don't be afraid, particularly as it's a macro teamed competition.
Yes, and Rory is another one of this little group that I have to get them. I'm trying to encourage people into to put stuff in who haven't been doing it before, and I'm about to start up my next little group. So I have one already for it. So I'm looking for another 3 people who think they don't know what they're doing, and we'll prove to them that they do. And Rory is one of our people. So the main thing here is to get an image in and learning the technology. Still, it's a lovely photograph. Agree with the judges' comments. That's probably make a very good square photograph. And as you can see from that there as well, it a little bit darker would be a great improvement as well. Okay, then we move on. This one is Josephine. Josephine is another one of in our group.
Yeah. Comments are a beautiful subject and colour to try macro on. Perhaps a tripod would work well here, as the complete flower is soft, unfortunately. Also crop tighter.
Yeah, I agree with every word she says. Josephine Wishmcott is coming in, and she's produced this a lovely photograph, and these are not meant as major criticisms. They're just meant to give you an idea of the next time you take a photograph to what to look out for. And you can see the focus is in the wrong spot. It's down here on the leaf rather than up here on the flower. It's a lovely, nice texture in it, nice lighting in it. But the fact she says soft is another way of saying it's not in focus. Right? And if you were doing that with your phone, all you'd have to do is put your finger on the phone on the top here where the flower is, and that bit would pop into focus for you. Right? Or if you were doing it with on a straightforward camera, this would be a good occasion to use spot focusing. And those who are following me on my course that I did from Portugal will have heard me talking about spot focusing before. On the phone or on a tablet, just put your finger there and it will pop. That's a lovely shot, well seen. It's the lighting that makes that.
Yes. And a good little bit of learning there about the focus.
Yes, for us all, focus is a challenging one.
Yeah. G1, this is by Irene Howlett, Dragonfly. The comments are, lovely subject for macro, great composition, nice and sharp and lovely background, well done.
Yeah, I think everything, and Irene is very, very good at doing. What I like about this one is I like the way that this diagonal just pops right up into the corner, and there's a nice curve. There's lovely diagonals here. The leaves in the background are adding to it the fact that they're out of focus, which was happening because you're going to be in that close. A lovely, and then obviously the sharpness is what makes this. This is not an easy photograph to take, and a lovely photograph. Well done, Irene.
This is a H1 by Mary Gowrie. The comments are, this image is completely soft throughout. However, it looks creative and perhaps it was intentional. The nice soft focused background works well.
Yes, isn't it amazing when you hear comments on things how your view changes? The fact that it's soft, yes, and it has a magic to it, hasn't it? And it's a lovely. It's a very simple photograph. It's only made up out of 3 colours: the pink, the blues, and the greens. There's a very small palette used in it. And here again, look at. Not restricted to the ratio that she shot it in, put it into a square ratio, which is perfect for us for Instagram. We put stuff up on Instagram, and listen to a lovely diagonal composition coming through here, and these leaves are not upsetting it. That's a nice photograph. Wood, yes, sharpness, we kind of almost get addicted to sharpness at times. It's a nice shot. And creative, and it's different. Well done, Mary.
Yeah. This is J1 by Patrick O'Leary, called Stargazer. Comments are nicely cropped. This is a good example of cropping right in. I like it a lot, even though it's a tad soft throughout. However, the colours are nicely handled.
That is a lovely photograph, and when I was looking through them earlier, and at the end of this little judges' comments that we're going to, I'm coming back to Patrick's one again, because it's a very interesting photograph that a lot of us can learn from, and Patrick could quite easily improve this and make it a completely different photograph. But it's only a little move, not very much needed at all on Patrick, but isn't it a lovely shot? And the tightness and the way, you know, it's in three. Look, 1, 2, 3, like in flower arranging. They're uneven numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's even. But and lovely diagonals and so tight. I think that's a look, and it's not bang on in the centre. The main bit is off to the. Well done, Patrick. We're going to come back at the end. I'm going to open this one up in Photoshop, and we will talk about it in there, because there's something that a lot of people can learn from this shot. Lovely shot. Well done, Patrick.
This is K1 by Mary Gallagher. Comments are beautiful, sharp in the centre. As there are a few blown highlights, I would crop it, trying to have the sharp centre on one of the thirds, and a bit more creative that way. Try it, she said.
Yes, that makes sense. Right, okay. I had a look at this, and we'll do it here. We can see what she was saying here. Well, the one thing that I noticed about it was that, you know, blown highlights, burnt highlights. Now, this would show up on your camera by a little flashing light to say that it has, and you could do exposure compensation to correct it when it was being shot. But if you just go in adjustments here, and if we just darken it a little bit, just simple as darkening it, those burnt highlights aren't as burnt as what she was saying they are, right? You get away with, but then it starts to go a bit mucky, and you see the details starting to come in there. She's very, very right about it, right? So that is, you know, it was a little bit on the bright side. Should have been seen, should have been sorted out before it went in, but these things often happen. And the other thing then she was suggesting, I'll undo that, was she was saying to crop it differently.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, will that oblige us? So she wants it kind of to get the centre to fall on one of the thirds. Now that's got the burnt highlights over there. So her idea might work very. Yeah, maybe the idea would work the opposite way if we had it. Come on. That sort of a way. Her idea is to get. Yeah. Now see the way it's falling on one of the thirds.
Yes.
A very interesting, a completely different way of looking at it. And then if you were to adjust that as well and just make it that little bit darker, all right, see how it changes the.
Yeah.
I'd even put maybe a little bit more than there's no, that's the wrong way, but a little bit more, you know, just kind of. It kind of almost cheats the burnt highlights here. Yes, I would have not have thought of doing it that way, and it does say a lot, doesn't it? Quite an interesting way, yeah. It's you know,
makes it more artistic,
doesn't it? It
highlights the centre, strength of the centre part.
Yeah, it does. Whereas that third could be either there, or there. You could spin it around the photograph in order to decide which one of the 4 intersections is the best spot to have it in. You could even flick the image around in it. You know, for such a simple image, there's a lot of manipulating and changing that can be done without spending hours and hours in Photoshop doing those sort of things. Yes, that's quite interesting. So that was Mary's. The next one, another Mary. We're surrounded by Marys.
Mary McMahon, called Pansy. Very complementary colours. That's what the comments were.
Yeah, I think she probably would say as well that there's a burnt highlight here. And when you darken that down, you do get a little bit more detail into it. And she'd probably say to to square it off as well. But there again too, we can become too tight as well and cropping everything down. She says that as a person, she likes things cropped in tight. A lot of music videos are often very quite tightly cropped. It's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, and as she says, strong colours.
Yeah.
Now this one.
This is by Patricia Devlin. Comments are beautiful composition, flowers well placed together. Again, I would suggest cropping down a bit from the top. Give the colours a little boost in contrast or levels.
Yes, I would agree with her. Patricia shoots mainly on her tablet or on her phone, and it's just a matter of getting used to cropping within the phone, and she's getting very good at doing that. I agree. Yeah, you can almost see it there, and if it was a little bit darker, it would punch it up enormously. We might, as we're here, we'll do as said, right? The crop come in from the top to crop some of the top out. Yeah, you can see that making a difference. Getting very tight here though, and then with the adjustment, her suggestion was to make it I think a little more punch into it. Look, as you come down here, see the way the flower is starting to come really. Now on this one, it's called Clarity, which is halfway, I think, between focus and contrast. So we can put a little bit of that into it, and it just pops. Now now we discovered it's in a flower pot, and there's a funny line going along here. So to improve on that again, that line is a little bit conflicting. But look at the lovely use of diagonals. A diagonal that way and a diagonal that way. I think that's, Patricia always impresses me with the stuff that she thinks. She's kind of, she sees it, right? And very good at seeing images. And like a lot of people in our group, but that last little bit of brightening and darkening and cropping and making those decisions is what makes all the difference when it's going into into a competition or into anything that we're putting in. But I say it also improves your photography. Well done, Patricia. I think that's a lovely shot.
Yeah, I love the colour of the way the flowers sort of three-dimensional almost.
Subtle.
This is M1 by Patrick Gallagher. Riverweed it's called. The comments are water droplets well captured here, and the whites are very well handled. Well done.
Yes, I would be inclined to agree. I might make it you see, this is challenging. White, trying to get detail in white is quite difficult, right? Because something has to be sacrificed. It has to be sacrificed in the shadows. And Pat did very well there. I was just wondering, would a little bit darker adjustment. That's frustrating. Adjustments. Would a little bit, you can go a little bit darker and it'll still show the detail even better. Right? You go too far, it's gone, but it even shows better, and it needs a little bit of punch of contrast. That's gone there. Oh no, sorry, that's color. Hit the wrong one. It's called Clarity. Just put a bit of punch in, and of course the netting always works well. I kind of just see the way that little bit of a netting. See the way it popped on the corners when I got over there. See from there where, and a little bit of the netting. See how it just kind of pops and stops your eye from going out there. Maybe that's a wee bit too dark now at this stage, because you need to have the brightness of the white. That's a lovely photograph. Okay, well done, Pat. The next one is Mairead.
Yeah, Mairead Gallagher, Rose. Comments are another rose, same story here, a little soft, and probably better composition for macro if you went tighter.
Yeah, but still a lovely shot. You can say nothing one way. You're only splitting hairs. It's a lovely shot.
Yes, it is.
This is Q1.
Maura Furlong. Raindrops keep falling. Comments are a very wet robin, very nicely captured on a wet day. Feathers perfectly sharp, light in the eye and rain captured too. However, I'm not sure what's going on with the feet area of the shot. However, a very good shot.
Which part couldn't she understand at the end?
The feet area of the robin.
Oh, the feet area, yeah. Well, yeah. Yes, it is a lovely, that's not easy to do. And as I always say, catch lights are very important. In a human's eye, she's got a lovely catch light in there. Caught the rain. It's probably just cropped that sort of way because maybe it's not that pretty. And maybe that's why Maura has it done, has put it that way. I wouldn't worry too much, but I would like to see marginally a little bit more space above the head. You could fight over it and, you know, maybe cropping it, you know, taking a little bit off the back of it, right, so that the bird has somewhere to fly into if it's going to take off. I know they're normal sort of things that people would normally say. I just, you know, it's a little bit central, and Maura would probably agree with me. Let's put the crop on it and see. Oh, here we are. Let's see if we were to tighten it in a little bit more there. Right?
Yeah.
Can you come another little bit maybe? That's kind of giving a little bit more space in the Now you can agree or disagree as to whether you think that's a better shot. Generally speaking, photographs shot bang on the center can be quite challenging to get a good image out of it. You know, not easy to do. You like taking that type of photograph yourself as well, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I took a one of a sparrow, young sparrow. Yeah.
Yeah, not easy.
I love the way it's captured.
Not easy.
Feathers
not easy to do at all. Do you want to leave without saving? Yes, you want to say. Okay. Now this next one is Bonnie's.
Yeah, reflection. Comments are, I love how you captured the one raindrop on the petals. It's like the weight of it is pulling down the petal. Beautiful colour rose. However, not sure how you achieve the dark background. The way to do the dark background is select around the petals, quite easy as they are not too jagged. Then select inverse, and now you can try a few ways, such as 1. The levels, 2. Gaussian blur. Depends what you want to achieve. Levels will darken, blur will blur.
Yes, that's really useful information, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we often go down to judging sessions and we often hear judges saying things like that, and something like that said to an advanced photographer makes sense. Somebody who's just started, that sounds all gobbledygook, right? And yes, that would be a nice way of doing it, and you could go back and practice doing that on that particular photograph and see how you get on with it. Yes, I agree with Ita on that score. And when I looked at it as well, I thought the same. I would maybe like a fraction, just a little bit more space on top. That'd be just me. Lovely and sharp. Lovely textures and a lovely colour. But the advice given there is really worthwhile, and the use of levels of Gaussian blur to blur it in the background, yes, they're all good ideas. And to do something like that with an image like that in Photoshop, you're talking about, for that type of an image to do something like that, you're talking about 20 minutes. You know, it's not a 2-minute fix, all right, but might make a huge difference to the photograph. And if Bonnie goes back and does that on it as a practice run, it will be, you know, maybe not necessarily for this shot, but for other shots that you do in the future. It's yes, really good advice from Ita. This is Margaret Quinn's.
Yes. Comments are very creative looking, cropped well, however the water drops are lost in the image. I I like the blue tinge or texture on the overall shot.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that after looking at the one we had of Mary's. You know, maybe if the centre was on one of the thirds as well would make it make it interesting. It looks to me as though it's a little soft, but maybe I'm wrong because there are very sharp lines there. Maybe that bit is sharp. Sharp. Yes, it's a very interesting shot. Maybe it's what she said about Mary's one with the thirds would be interesting in this case as well. It is a macro. It's definitely a tight cropped shot.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very interesting one. Very interesting indeed. The next one is by the great Barney Champion.
Yeah. Comments are great attempt at macro, eyes sharp and wing sharp. Well done, not easy to get these critters in flight.
Yeah, I agree with everything that she has said. But Barney has left some space for him to fly down into.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and he's got this nice and sharp, this up here, right? Plenty of... That wasn't... Look at the detail in it.
I know, it's amazing.
That is super. That's absolutely super. Anybody who does that type of work, you know, it must be great reward when you get a good shot for it. It's, you know, and I say there's thousands of photographs these people take that end up in the bin, and then they get the really good one. It's not an everyday shot. You know, this takes time and effort to get it. Well done, Barney.
Yeah.
And this is, who's this vibe? Who's that person?
Oh yeah, I don't know. By myself, actually. I identified it as a silver wasp fritillary butterfly when I was down in Kerry in the summer. The comments are very nice composition, both antennas sharp, colours might benefit from a boost in contrast, but overall a great image, well done.
Yeah, I would agree with her. I would agree. We can do that. You know, we can do it here. We can do the edit here. She said to boost up the contrast in it, which in this case in adjustment it's called clarity, was kind of contrast, but it's. No, it's got to go down. See the way when you bring up, it's kind of contrast and sharp.
The
I think
flaps are coming up, aren't they, in the butterfly's wings?
And then a little bit darker. All right, you can see what she's saying. Now, the bit that would concern me is that I know why that flower is there, because the butterfly is going on it, but it's almost taken from the sharp line here, right? Yeah. And you know, in the previous one where she was talking about using the marquee tool to mark that, there's a very definite line, and either taking that out or blurring that out of it and make it more like the background. I think that little bit there, because it's so close to where the head is, which is the centre of interest, you know, if that wasn't there, I think that would be a much stronger shot. And this one here, see this little fella, and that fella will be gone in a couple of seconds, and this fella dark, and we go to the netting, right, and we see how it goes as it goes on the outside, right? See, when it gets darker out here, your eye isn't getting taken out there.
It's blending more into the...
Yes, bringing you more in. Like there's the opposite, where it brings you really into it. Whereas if you vignette it out to the side, it's getting darker there for you, because you don't want a person's eye to go out there. And what really makes this a wonderfully strong composition, famous things, a diagonal this way, a diagonal that way, two diagonals here, right? And diagonals in photographs always make them interesting and gets movement into them, and it's a lovely, lovely shot. Well, I have to say that with you there anyway, don't I? Well done. You're pleased with it yourself?
I am, yes. I mean, the butterfly cooperated, and it seemed to be more dopey than anything else, you know, not moving away. But
yeah, still it wasn't easy. Would you agree or disagree with taking out the flower?
Yeah. Leave a little bit in it just to
to show what it is. Yeah, well, you could play with it because it's such a bright color, and it's a contrast to this here.
Yeah.
It was a good photograph and still a good photograph. See, when you do a little bit of
Oh
darkening,
yeah, big difference. Yeah.
it's very hard to know how much to brighten and darken an image because they're all being viewed on different screens in different places, and your screen might be different to somebody else's screen, and this has all got to do with color management. But a little bit darker would work quite well. Right, this is V1.
This is by Nora Brosnan. The comments are another nice flower. The subtle colours in the background here work okay.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like Mary's flower. We've had a couple of flowers very similar to that. And it's sharp, a little bit darker in order to get that more highlight detail. But as I say, it all depends on which screen you are looking at it on. So that's the last one of them, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
That's the last one of them. So you were impressed with what the judge had to say?
Oh yes, I thought there were a lot of good comments. Good comments on all of them, wasn't there?
There was, yeah. I was quite impressed, especially in Mary's one. Now I have to be very diplomatic now and talk to her about that one. But Mary takes relatively good photographs. When she gets up and does them. So it's a matter of encouraging everybody to put in an image, good, bad, or indifferent. Put in the image. Yes. Okay, then we left it at that. That's the end of the macro, and we'll come back in a few minutes and we will have a look at the landscape. So thank you very much, and we'll have a little break now, and we'll have a look at the landscape in a few minutes. Take care. Okay. Thank you for your help.
All right.
Good. Well, folks, that was interesting, wasn't it? I found that it's we had challenges with the sound on it, and hopefully you were able to hear all the bits that was being said, and just the fairies wouldn't allow us get the sound right, and we put a huge amount of effort in trying to get it to go right. But I think you got the gist of what was going on, and of course if you had your PDF open in front of you, it will also be written there. You can also go back to the website and, as I say, go into the blog area, and all the comments are also in there, or just read that PDF. Now, as we were saying, two images there that I'm going to go and have a look at about what the judge had said, because it's nice to, you can agree or disagree. Well, the one I said that I was going to go to, we'll open up Photoshop. Right, I'm going to change you onto the right screen now, or you'll be given out saying I can't see it. Now, hopefully you can see my Photoshop is opened, right? And I want to go to Pat's. It was the one of the this one, which I was saying the nice one about. Okay, this one. Now, when we are doing photographs, and this isn't against, it's just Pat's one is the one that I have taken out. Now we can do this with all the different images, and the way we're always talking about levels, right? And this is the histogram for this particular image, and it just needs a little bit of contrast put into it, right? And then in the middle we can just make it that little bit darker, right? And it makes a huge difference to the actual photograph. Now, we often would be saying this on different judging sessions that we have about this, and I know certain people say, well, I did all those things and yet you want me to do it more. And yes, and I've been thinking about it, and it comes to the fact that because I use two screens, one is my laptop and the other is a normal screen. Very easy to use two screens. You can put half your stuff onto a different screen. And on my other screen, the color of this looks considerably better, right? So the screen and the calibration of the screen is very important. So we must take that into consideration as well as when it is being judged. Like, is the judge's screen calibrated? And have we got a calibrated screen to go before we send the stuff in? Now that may not all be possible, but if you're at the advanced level and where we're operating now, maybe that is more important to consider that. But it's not the end of the world. Now the other one that I found really interesting was Bonnie's one, the one she was talking about. And I thought that was a very interesting one, and what she suggested that could be done in it. So I'll show you what she probably means. She means to get one of these lasso type tools and go around and highlight the image all the way around. Now, if you're doing this yourself at home and it's for an exhibition, you can take a lot more time. I will probably make a mistake somewhere going along here, but I don't want you to be here all day and all night as I go through. But you know, it'll still give us an overall idea of what's going on, and this is something that the more advanced photographer would be doing. Sound has gone down. Well, yeah, it's hopefully it's okay now. Oh yes, it probably is a bit low now at present. I can bring up my that's a bit better. Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, I can put it up. Oh, look what happened while I was doing something else. Oh, okay. Control D, deselect. Oh, okay. Typical, can't do two things at the one stage. Yeah, but it was worth getting that sound back. I'm convinced that the fairies are against us. Okay, yeah, thank you. It was my fault. I hadn't got it up high enough. Oh, I took a little boo-boo there. Now, obviously, if you take your time and do this in much smaller little increments, you get a much better job on this. But this is a love. I played with this the other day before tonight, and it went fairly okay for me. But when you're doing it on a live stream, those old fairies would get the better of you. Now, it doesn't take too long, and as I say, you could spend a lot more time if yourself and be much more accurate with it. I'm just pulling it along and left clicking on the magnetic tool. Whoop, went a bit astray there. Okay, and you finish it by getting it back to the... Now, okay, it rounded it off a little bit. Now, what she said was to inverse, select inverse. It's the center that's selected, so you want the outside selected. So you right-click and select inverse. Okay, so that means this bit is out here is selected. Okay, so if you go to your levels, Control L, all right, and use the darkening and brightening portion, you can either darken the outside or brighten the outside. Okay, so obviously she was suggesting that it would darken. So we go to somewhere about, let's say there, and we say okay to, and we say okay to that. Okay, and then you take out those marching ants, Control D to deselect, and that's the image. So that's what she was suggesting to do. There's a little bit of feathering here, which was organized earlier on. So that's what we started with, and that was the system by which she suggested that you would make it darker around the outside. I think it's very good advice. It's worth every. And for the people who aren't so advanced, that's all new to you. Those who are advanced may have done this themselves, and it's old hat for them. But it is what needs to be done when you're operating at intermediate and advanced level. If you're worried about competition and whatever. But it's also very important that some of my group were just putting images in, and that, believe you me, is just as important. Right. So go back here to select. I'm going back on history, back to select inverse. And the other suggestion she said was to use Gaussian blue, a blur. So that's found here in filters. It's blur and it's Gaussian blur, which is used about 99% of the time. See the way it blurs it in the background, and you've got control here as to how much blur you want to put into the background. Okay, so let's say OK to that, and Control D to deselect it, and that's what the image is. It could be a little bit overall, the whole image could be maybe a little bit darker on my screen, but it's probably OK on your screen, which is probably, it's kind of almost, it's like a ready brick glow off, and I think that's a really super photograph. So that's the way it came in, and that was her second suggestion as to what to do. And I think that was a really worthwhile suggestions as to what to do with the images. My mouse is not obliging me. Right then. Right then, so these were the images that were in macro, and we tried to get these results out the last time. And this is third place in the macro, and it goes to Etna. Well done, Etna. Etna organized all these images. I'm just doing the easy bit. This is the second, which is the macro from Barney Champion, which is super. And then the first prize goes to our first prize, or the first one as voted by our members, goes to Irene, which is another lovely, lovely shot. Okay. I have them put up on the website, put them up to today, and they're on the winning one is on the front, on the first page, and so is the landscape one there. It will also be going up on our Instagram account, so there's a link will be put up to our Instagram account on Friends of Anoiga. Please go there and like it, because I'd like us to start using Instagram, because it's another place where we can put our photographs. We have to experiment with it and see if it's a place worth going. We're now getting Zoom to be up and running. Everything has to be practiced with, and we have to keep on changing. Okay, right then, let's get back to round two. And round two, a little problem with the sound on this one as well, but hopefully you have your PDF in front of you, and you can follow us through on it. Let's go. Okay, Etna, it's great to have you back after that little break, and we're now going to have a word about the landscape.
Yes. And just before we start with the landscape, just to remind people that if they know of anybody who would like to join Friends of Anoiga, that they can give them the phone number of the Anoiga phone and get them to send a message with their own phone number to the phone, and we can add them to the group. We also sent out and put it on Friends and sent it to email addresses the handout for the September time period. So they can use that to help them to decide what they want to do.
Yes, and as I was saying to you earlier on, it's a PDF file, and what I've done with it is I have printed it out and put it up on my notice board, because I like to be able to see it written up and not always have to go to the diary in my phone to see it. And it's a very printable document, and well done. It is great. It's almost replaced our old little green note that we used to have sent out, and you can. It's the printable version of what goes out on Friendzo. Right then.
That a bit further as well going forward. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's have a look at the images. Okay. The first one is A2, and this is Boats in the Harbour by Agnes again.
Yes. So the comments are nice detail in sky. Overall, the image needs a bit of punch. The blacks need to be blacker, a tad grey, but an image with potential.
Yes, as I was saying on the last time, Agnes is one of our people in our little group who's getting used to doing all these things and getting images up and whatever, and it's a lovely photograph. And Agnes does take quite nice photographs. Even last challenge she had a nice one in. And what the judge is talking about here is technicalities, right? And this will come to Agnes as she goes along, because these are photographs that come in from all different people from at different levels. And well done, Agnes, and it is a lovely photograph. We'll discuss about how to make skies dark and whatever on other occasions. I have some tutorials up about it already if you want to go back and have a look at it. Yes, a lovely photograph, maybe a little cluttered, because in images we're always looking for a centre of interest, whereas there's a lot of boths going on. So sometimes less is more. This next one is Dennis's.
Yes, called Reflections. Comments are great detail in the blacks here. Very nice image. Perhaps I might crop it into letterbox and lose the sand in the foreground. Only my opinion, according to Ita.
Right, I tried this with it, and I tried putting it into the letterbox, a long skinny one, because we don't have to leave it in the ratio as which it was shot at, as in 16:9 in this case, I presume. You can make it into any shape you want because it's digital. We don't have to end up with the shape it gives us. And I did try putting it into a skinnier type shot, and I think the way Dennis has it is possibly the best way. I remember being in this very spot in Glendalough with Anoiga many years ago, and we had a group down from Northern Ireland who stayed in the hostel with us, and we went out for taking photographs, and this is one of the spaces we went to. I took a photograph here myself, and what I did was I pulled a lump of a tree in here into the foreground to give it foreground interest. So somewhere where the thirds intersect in this photograph is screaming for a centre of interest. Lovely photograph, lovely texture, lovely black and white is well done. It's well done, Dennis.
Yes, I like that.
Now this one is by Gary Sinnott.
Yes, comments are nice detail throughout the image, but slightly over sharpened. But it gives an eerie feeling, so possibly intentional.
Now I looked at this for a long time, and especially after listening to the comments, and you know, we haven't got Gary. Gary's probably screaming at us now as we are talking about his photograph and what he has done. I reckon Gary might have cut out the church and put in different sky in order to do it, and he does a lot of this type of putting two images together and whatever, which is a very skilled job to do, and takes a lot of practice. And you're doing the right thing, Gary, by practicing and doing these things. Maybe I shouldn't have said practicing, but doing these things. This is a little telltale here, and it takes a huge amount of effort in order to make it right. She says that it might be over sharpened. Sharpening is something that we do within Photoshop. I don't know. I will keep my mind, but the texture and the effect of it is quite nice. A very interesting shot. Well done, Gary. I say you probably have dropped in things and whatever. We don't know what you've done. We'll have to talk to you to find out exactly what you've done. But you got us all talking, and that's all that matters. 16:9 ratio is what this one is left in.
This is D2 by Susan Brown, Johnstown Castle. The comments are very nice image, composition spot on, nice detail in the sky. If you're using NIK software, you could bring the details in the sky more, make more dramatic.
Okay, when I read this comment and I was thinking about it the other day, I said to myself, what's NKI? So I went to my usual friend Mr. YouTube and asked Mr. YouTube, and nothing came up. And then I was talking to somebody who's even better than YouTube, Etna herself, and Etna said that, oh yes, she's heard that being talked about before when judges come in. So she went off to Mr. Google, and Mr. Google brought it up, and as you all know, and I didn't know, it's a plug-in that gets used in Photoshop. and it is used to make black and white, small black and white, and there's quite a few of these plugins. So obviously you all know about this NKI as a plugin. So I've also, before this challenge came out, I did a little YouTube video explaining how to convert photographs into black and white, and it's in the little video that I did that precedes this one, the one about what to do for the August challenge, and I show you how to convert in Photoshop. I use a slightly different system. I don't have any plugins, and the main point about it is that, okay, yes, you can work with plugins to get that punch and whatever, but you can do a lot in Photoshop as well. And Susan did the best she could with the facility she had, and the composition is quite nice. I'm just wondering, you know, would we be better with some of the front gone out of that one? I think it's maybe a bit too much in the foreground. That's just my personal. Lovely photograph, Susan.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is by Rory.
Yes. Comments are not mono, however the image is a bit busy. Try removing the foreground and turn it into a letterbox style.
No, well, Rory is one of our people who's in our little group. We're starting off, and it was my fault. I should have maybe have dropped it into black and white, because he hadn't quite got around to knowing how to convert stuff into black and white. But there's a black and white image coming up later on by somebody who's a very interesting way of doing it. So Rory is one of our newer people, and I think maybe, as she said, crop the foreground there, a long skinny one, because there's not very much going on there. Main aspect of this one was to get Rory used to putting in images in through our portal, and we have, it's a lovely shot. It's almost monotone. It almost looks like a greeny colour, so it kind of works that way.
Yeah, yesterday you were showing me that one, and you did do a bit of cropping, and it did improve it.
Oh, it did, yes. So by cropping it across there, we can do it here.
All right.
We can have a look at it and we can see. And then we try to, once you let it go, it goes on you. We're going to try and get the cross to come over where one of the turds be a little bit further over. That makes a much more interesting photograph, because it gets rid of all the stuff that's at the bottom. Yes, it's quite an interesting shot. You want to try and, I cropped it, not, this cropping is a funny sense for cropping, so you want to try and get it. It moves very quickly on you in this system, but if you were to play with it enough, you will be able to get it to oblige you. So yes, that's a nice shot. And then the next one after that was Josephine, and Josephine is another one of our people in our little group who's getting used to uploading images.
Right.
And the judges' comments.
The comments are, needs a bit of work to separate the water from the rest of the image. I barely realised there was water.
Yeah, black and white is very interesting to work in. It relies upon contrast, and it is a fair point. It's also like line, 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 line. 1, 2, 3, 4 parallel lines with a little bit of a diagonal in them. There's not much going on, so there's no centre of interest. But the main object in getting this photograph up was within our group. We were getting each one member to put up an image, and that's what Josephine did, and that's what she succeeded in doing. And she can always come back and learn bits and pieces from it. So that was the reason why that image went in.
Yeah,
and we can all learn from it, and you know exactly. It needs something in it of interest. It needs a little boat or something going down along there, or something.
Yeah.
So well done, Josephine. The important thing was to get the image in.
Yeah.
And this one is by Irene.
Called Reflection. Comments are very nice tonal quality, lovely drama in the sky too. Well done. Might suit letterbox.
Yeah,
it is lovely.
Yeah, Ita likes kind of long, skinny one. I think it's to get rid of this bit here in the front, but that gives it foreground interest. I just wonder if that was over on that side, would it be a better photograph? And you could do that by just flipping them, right? Just the same shot, but just flicking it around in Photoshop. You can flick. I don't know if you can. We can't flick it on the system here. A nice photograph, but there again, what is the center of interest, right? You know, it's kind of is challenging in that way. Lovely sky, well done. Now, Mary Gyries.
Comments are nice, simple composition. I like it a lot. There is a crown competition coming up for trees. You should enter this. Possibly need colour version.
Yeah, yes.
I haven't heard of the crown competition.
No, nor did I. So it must be obviously a competition out there. Yeah, and trees can make, especially trees in silhouette, can make really interesting, very simple photograph, and it works very well. One of the few photographs that we've seen in the vertical format in the landscapes.
Right.
Now this one is Patrick O'Leary.
Yes, Black and Strand. Comments are nice, simple image. Ground and sky could be pushed up a notch.
Sorry, you broke up there on the Wi-Fi. Just read that one again.
All right. The comments are nice, simple image. Ground and sky could be pushed up a notch.
Yeah, it just needs a bit more contrast in it. But it's lovely insofar as, look at these lovely leading lines. And these, well seen. I wonder, is the horizon, it has to be there if you want to get the top of the pole. It's really challenging to know where the horizon should be. Normally it goes a third up or down here. And yet it needs to be there in that shot. He needs a horse and cart, of course, going down here, or a pony or something like that. Should have brought one along with him.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, but even still, it does make a story insofar as like what is down there. Well done. It needs a bit more punch, and that's, that will apply to everybody, especially in black and white.
Yeah.
This one is Mary Gallagher's.
Right. Another nice image, nice punchy, lovely reflections captured. Well done.
Yeah, this was taken a couple of weeks ago when we had that beautiful Saturday, and it kind of shows the idea of something of centre of interest. So the centre of interest is the boat, and the idea is that it's got space to go into. I'm surprised that she didn't kind of start to wonder about, was it all tilting off to one side. It looks like it could be straightened up a little bit, doesn't it? Looks like it's going up, like the water's going to flow out this side.
Yeah.
You could do with a little bit of straightening. I'm only after noticing that now. But you could always fight that argument insofar as the boat is going downhill. You can, and it's also worked out very well that they're doing something, and there's an uneven number of people on the boat. Uneven numbers always work better, and 3 is always a good number to work with, and fairly interesting sky. It was one of those days. This is the best time of the year for taking these type of shots, because the sun at 4 and 5 and 6 o'clock and 7 is really low and oblique, especially for the next one coming up, the architectural one. Set yourselves up for success. Go out when the sun is shining with that nice low oblique lighting and get plenty of shadow into your architectural shots, and indeed your landscape shots. This one is by Mary Mack.
Really nice composition and reflections captured well. Nice ground and sky too.
Yeah, it's a lovely shot. Nicely presented. I like the way Mary went to the trouble of putting it in with a white border around it. Because it's digital, you can do that. I showed you in one of the tutorials that I did how to do that. You use the 16:9 outer portion and then put the image into the centre of a white border. You could also, Mary, if you wanted, you could have stroked the image with a black line around here when you were shooting it, and it just kind of frames it off as well. You select the image and put a little mark, a little stroke line around here, around as a solid black line, and it kind of holds it in nicely. Maybe you didn't want to do that. Nice shot, well done. Now this one again by Patricia on her tablet.
Yeah. Another nice punchy mono, simple, 2 kids wandering, placed correctly on the thirds, well done.
Yeah, I agree. You see the way that the thirds go across here,
Yeah.
here, comes down here, and they intersect is where the centre of interest, where it's all going on. And a nice sky, shot on her tablet again. Well seen. Patricia always sees interesting stuff. Now, this is Patrick Gallagher.
Yeah, Sandy Mount evening. Horizon is all clear and as such is distracting. Subjects are out of focus.
Yeah, it's interesting insofar as you decided to use a panoramic for this type of a shot, but the ideas of thirds still follow on no matter what shape it's in. Seems to be a lot of lost space out here. Maybe it could end off at about there, or maybe when they would be on one of the thirds. I don't know if there's. I think she was saying it's a little bit slanting off on it. You know. Interesting, well done. It's black and white. Black and white needs texture and needs shape in it for it to work. Color photographs work with color within it. Nice, interesting photograph. And this is Mairead. Mairead's is a more taken in a similar spot. What was the judge's comments?
Same place, better composition, but too many objects. My eye is jumping around.
Yeah, but I think it's far better than Pat's. You ain't going to cause a domestic in that in that family. And what Mairead has managed to do is she's got all these lovely shapes here with these things, right?
Yeah,
so the image is possibly somewhere there. Look.
Yeah.
In that little bit there. Let's try and crop and see. Let's use the crop tool and see how that would work.
It's telling different stories as well.
Yeah.
People
Look,
in the picture.
If we were to do something like this, then you need to get two seconds will get rid of that person. They're okay, and 2 seconds will get rid of that person. And then if you had an interesting sky, right? That would be, that has got great potential. That location and that spot has got great potential. The cranes over here are very good. So if you were to go out as an advanced photographer to take this, put it on a tripod, take a series of exposures so that you expose for the sky as well as exposing for here so that you get some detail into the sky. But even a plain sky works quite well. Yeah, I think maybe just a wee bit, yeah. And it's nice and punchy as well with nice black and white in it compared to that version. I think, the panoramic is a great idea, but maybe not on this occasion. I kind of like that girl there. She kind of, but there's two options going in opposite directions. So she's right. Your eye is being brought all around the place. This next one is by Maura Furlong.
Bantry Shoreline. Comments are mono, nice and punchy. Choose child or the 2 people, she suggests.
Did she suggest to get rid of the 2 and hold on to the 1, or get rid of the 1 and hold on to the...
Either, she seems to say, either choose the child on its own, I presume, or the 2 people on their own. So, but how would you cut out the...
Oh, that boy would go in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, he's really easy to get rid of. They're both easy to get rid of. It's she really needs this stone here for foreground interest. And
Would you crop the boy out from the side?
You could crop the boy out as well, or take the boy out. Well, it's mainly got to do with where the thirds fall. Let's see where the thirds fall when we... Oh, just don't be too quick. See those where the two people are, where the thirds intersect. Yeah. So they're probably theoretically in the best spot to get it. And if you go this way, you could do it. You could do it that way, and it'd be still on one of the thirds, right? And then get rid of him there might make for a better shot. Or you could say it's a part of the story he's trying to catch up with him, but your eye keeps on flicking from one to the other. You're not, or would you be better off down in this third here? No, because you need the hill to walk down. Interesting. You could be playing with that one for a good while. This is Bonnie's
reflection. Comments are: Paris Court, very busy. Bring up some details in the sky and crop the foreground tighter.
Yeah, it's just there's a little bit on the soft side. It needs to be punched up a little bit. And I'll do some of these shots in Photoshop to show how to punch up stuff. Maybe not this one, but I'll show you what, because they're all done the same way. It's mainly done in levels. It can be done here as well with the adjustments here. We'll do it here and have a look at it.
Right.
It needs that punchiness. It's just in black and white needs much more contrast than what a colour does. So we say make it a little bit darker. Right, and then bring up what it calls clarity, which is kind of contrast. See, now if you go too far, it goes horrible, right? You can't go too far. You have to just make it. The object in black and white is to get detail in the highlights and detail in the shadow. And then she was suggesting to crop the foreground. I don't know if you really need to, but she was saying, so let's listen. Do we leave the reflection there, or do we take the reflection out completely? But the whole idea of this shot was the reflection.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit of the foreground gone out of it. Yeah. Let's see what that looks like. It's splitting hairs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not a huge amount of difference in it. But, she did say it was busy, and it is busy. There's a lot going on. This could be an important bit. There's a lot going. You need to have something as a centre of interest. Okay. And this one was by Barney. And what's the comments on this one?
Very grainy. Is it post-processing? Sky blown.
Okay. It's very grainy, which it is, but I say maybe that's what he wanted. What makes this work is the relationship between, and this time of the year you can get that type of shot. See his vignetting coming in here on the corners?
Oh, yes.
And also, there's a burnt highlight. Okay? Yeah. It's burnt out completely. Maybe that's the effect he wants. A lovely photograph. These are all nicely laid out. Nice lighting. See the lights coming in from this side and making it into oblique lighting. Why? It must be grainy, because when I checked it here in the file information.
All right.
And had a look here. I saw. No. Oh yes, here it comes. Look, it was shot at 100 ISO. So, and it's a 5.5 megapixel image, unless it's very much cropped into the center of it, might give you that kind of pixely grainy. Well, he must have added grain to it. We'll have to ask Barney what he did, but the judge liked it anyway, so that's the all important, eh?
Yeah.
And then this one, another nice one as well. Tell us about this one.
This is by myself. Called as a park on a sunny day. Comments are: really nicely captured image, storytelling, makes me wonder what's going on. One girl alone, two others, all looking the same direction. I'm intrigued. My favourite image, she says.
Yeah. It is a lovely, and what I said a few minutes ago, like that's a little bit like architecture as well. Remember I was saying to try and go for that oblique lighting that comes in sideways. That's what you have there. See the way the lighting is coming in and punching everything up, right?
Yeah.
And see how it's hitting the girl here in the front with lovely skid lighting all the way around because the way the sun is shining on it, right? I would have normally got confused between these two people, but you very much get away with it. This is the one that makes it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I like that too. Yeah.
If you had to, she liked the fact that they were looking in a direction to know what was going on, to improve, maybe remove them, make this lady a little bit more dominant by having her a little bit bigger, and by being in a different position, but you are using her as foreground interest, and you obviously waited for the decisive moment that her head was looking over towards the actual building, right? Now,
Yeah,
I know the answer to...
I took a few attempts at that, and then that was the one, yeah, where she was, I thought, nicely composed and looking okay.
The other thing about it was, and I know the answer to it, how did you make that black and white?
I went on the Stephen's Green outing there with the club, and I thought I would try setting the camera to have the black and white setting on the camera to see. I had never tried that, so I wanted to see how that would work. And then I just came upon that framed image as I was walking along, and struck me as a nice, but I was really surprised how well I thought it looked in the black and white.
Yeah, it does, it is. And it's also, the only... It might be a good way of doing things, to do the black and white system within your camera, the way the little nerds run around inside in your camera and produces black and white, is obviously a very good rendering of black and white.
Oh,
right. So that might be a good way, if you find that's better doing it that way than doing it in Photoshop afterwards. That might be something really worth considering. And it was when you said it, I started to think about it. The only disadvantage you have is that once you have it shot in black and white on the camera, you cannot bring it back to colour. Whereas if you shoot it in colour, you can bring it into black and white in Photoshop or in software.
Yeah.
But it really works. It really works, as a way of doing it.
Yeah, I did, improve the contrast a bit afterwards.
You would have to. You would have to. It really needs it. Now, the screen that I'm looking on it here, it looks a little bit wishy-washy. It depends upon the screen, but yes, it depending on which screen you're looking at it on. I'm looking at it on two screens here. One is much darker than the other, and the darker one is the better. That's, as I say, to do with a real challenge with digital photography. Everybody looks at it on a different screen and sees it in different degrees of blackness and darkness, which makes it really challenging. Okay, that's that one. Well done. I have to say nice things, don't I?
Yes.
Yes. This is Nora Bronson.
The comments are, I suspect, a group of an Onoida walker. Nice record shot.
Now this was from our little group as well, who were trying to get used to putting up images and cropping and doing all these sorts of... This was a lovely learning exercise earlier on, insofar as there's somebody over on this side, there's somebody on this side. We're trying to decide how to crop it, get it cropped, and then change the name of the file and put it up into the portal was our main. But it's a lovely photograph where people are walking along. Less will be more, obviously, and on even numbers, like as in flower arranging. But as a record shot of what was going on, it's a lovely shot, and we really achieved in our little group what we wanted to achieve.
Brilliant.
So that's the last one of those. Thank you very much for your help in going through with the comments. I hope the rest looking on will have a view of what to move forward with, and we will have the next one, and maybe we might do it a different way. We can listen to the judges' full comments, but as I say, this is the way we've had to do it this way. Things do go wrong when you try Zoom at times, but sure, we'll eventually get through it. It's technology. The fairies get the better of us. So thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
Been an interesting experience doing this recording of the video and talking through the pictures. Yeah.
People won't believe that we've spent nearly 5 hours putting this little bit together. They won't believe the amount of time that's involved in it. And so we thank you very much. It's not easy. And thank all the other people who went before you, who did it.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do, but it's great experience for the people. And you're also, you're hearing from people from within our own group. So who's going to be next on one of these little interviews?
That's it. Yeah.
Come forward and we'll get you. Take care, and thank you very much for helping with the judging.
All right. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Well, no, that was interesting, wasn't it? It's even got dark within that period of time, and I think Etna did a wonderful job. That wasn't easy, and we had issues with sound. I've seen it being done by real professionals at times from different conferences, and they have the same problems with sound. Sound is a whole area of its own, never mind picture. But it is a learning curve for us, and we will get through it. I think Etna did a wonderful job, as did the two Marys who did the other Skype conversations and pre-done interviews, we'll call them, and it has been done quite impressive. And I thank Etna for doing it, and the huge amount of work that she put into it. Etna is now doing 90% or 99% of the challenge, and it will have to be looked at because there's a huge amount of work in it. Having two lots of images coming in for black and white and colour creates a lot of challenges, and maybe it's come to the time that we will need somebody else to help if we want to have that number of images, because there's a huge amount of downloading and moving around, whatever. Now, I do admit that things got the better of us, and we had to figure out all the bits and pieces. When you get it organised, it goes a little bit better. So it'll probably change in the future because nothing stays static, but it's been a lovely exercise while I was doing it. Great to be redundant now from it, and I'm going to move on to do other things, which I'll tell you about just at the end. I just want to do a few little quickies with you here for the images that we had up. So I will move you over. I'll move you over to my desktop. Now you're on my desktop, and we'll talk about the images from that we were talking about, converting stuff into black and white. So let's see, I will go with oh, here we are. This is the one I want. I want this for two reasons. Okay, when you are converting into black and white, now I know that Isha was suggesting a plug-in to go into Photoshop, but you can also do it quite well within Photoshop. And the little video that I done earlier, you can go to it, you can see a better version of it. But the way I do it is I go into Image, Adjust, Gradient Map. See that when you go into the black and white version of it, there's other ones in there as well. It's the black and white. You see the difference just in that one little move. You saw the screen changing, and that is one that has changed that a good bit. So we will say, sorry, Image, Adjust, no problem going. It'll remind you, Gradient Map. See the screen jump into black and white. I say OK to that. When you are working with black and white, it always has to be more contrastier than what a black and white would be. So bring up your levels, Control and L. Now you can see this has been worked on before, and that's because these will let you know. So we'll just pump up the contrast a little bit, just a little bit. Can't go too far, you'll start to lose detail. See it starting to punch in, and see it starting to punch in there again. Now, this is very much dependent upon the screen that you look at and the calibration of the screen, but you get my point anyway, and that's the way it works, right? So that's one thing. The other thing that could have been done here, if you take the marquee tool and you put it up here into the corner and you pull it across and you get it just to sit here on the corner, you right click and you go Stroke. You make sure it's black we're going there with a 10.1. It might be a bit on the big side, but it'll make it look good on the screen for you. You say OK to it, and you Control D to get rid of the marks. Do you see the way the black line around the outside of it kind of gives it? 10 might have been too much. You could have put a lighter one in. It holds it quite well. And you can also put that line in other spots if you wanted a second line, maybe somewhere out here to give it a bit of a punch. You could go there. We go under a stroke there. This time nowhere near as big. Let's go with 5. Say OK. Control D to get rid of the, I'm overdoing it now, but just to show you the effect. So let's go back to the image came in like that. That's the way we opened it. We put it into gradient map. It pumped up a bit, put it into levels. It brought us another brief bit, and then we put the stroke on it. And then we deselected the stroke, right? So that was just that little bit. I just wanted to show that to you. And you, with black and white, they do need that little bit more contrast, and they do need that more, little bit more darkness into them, right? So that was, now this is the landscape, and in the third highest scoring went to Mary Gallagher for this image, which you were looking at earlier on. And as I was saying, it's the light that makes that. So that was third in the landscape as voted by our members on our portal. Second went to Etna, and we heard us talking about that. It's nice to have the person along who whose photograph it is. So maybe we might discuss photographs with people who, after they've taken it, might make an interesting live stream on some occasion. And then the the highest score went to Barney Champion, and that's now up on the website. So that's all of those things. All right. So we come from. I have to talk to myself because. Okay, now we're back here. Right, and so thank you all very much. Sorry, it was not too bad. It's just 8 minutes over the hour. That's not too bad. But there was a lot to get through. And as I say, I cannot thank Etna enough for the huge amount of work. Makes, as I always say, she always makes me look good, and I am very appreciative of it. And anybody else who would like to help us and join us, we would love to have them, because we need to be getting up and going with more and more people. And we do this as a little subgroup of people putting different bits and pieces together. So if anybody would be interested in doing anything, I would love to have them. To join, just give me a call and we will get some way. I hope to get another little group of people who would like to get involved in this digital world, that they can and join. They often think that they are hopeless, but they're not. They actually know a huge lot more. My group have come on wonderful. I'm very pleased with them, and we don't want to be leaving anybody out, because it looks like we will be going into a winter of difficulties back into streaming again, and Zoom and various other bits and pieces. So we would want to be moving in that direction. I have a few ideas as to what I would do in the coming time. One thing that I am taking on is the Shield, and we are going to put a selection of photographs into the Shield competition, which is something that we enter in every year. And what I'm looking for is, I want you to send me your best pictures that you've taken. And I'm going to put up a page on the website for the Shield, and I'm going to put up a portal there as well that you can put in your images on. It won't be up for another week, so you have a chance to go through and get your images. When we get it up and up the images, I'm hoping to start up a little work group with all the people whose images we have, and we will work through them. My idea is that the image will come in, we'll work on them in Photoshop or whatever, or maybe reshoot or remodify, and then we try and get the best possible selection in. The ambition is not to win. The ambition is just to learn about our photography and to have a little bit of fun, because we're a social group that does photography, not a photographic group that does, well, we do a little bit of social stuff as well. But with these times, it is difficult. So I'm setting up the portal for that. I'm also suggesting if people would like to join me, you can just say yes, I'm in on Friends of Anoiga, and I will know who would be interested. I'm also trying to, as a part of this group, the shield will be the first bit, and the next bit will be to get a collection of really good quality prints for each person, because I would like to see more people to go for licentiateship, because the only person I can think of, and I could be very wrong, is Coich as a member. I know there's other members, but I don't actually know who they are. But we could do it another few, and doesn't really matter whether you manage to get licenseship or not. It is always of advantage for your photography to improve. Bill Mack, as I would call him, somebody called him Paddy, and some of them call him William. He's got 3 names. On numerous occasions when he was alive, he tried to go for licentiateship, and I don't think he ever got it in the end, but every time he went, his photography improved, and that is the most important part of it. So I'd love people to join me in setting up a work group to do this. And if you don't go in for licentiateship and we don't use one of the ones for the challenge, at least you'll have a selection of good quality prints, and I'm going to do a little bit of homework and a few exercises and a few little bits and pieces to be able to do it. So it'll be a little bit like what we did from Portugal, but it will be over autumn and winter, because we're heading into that, because we're not obviously going to be able to meet for a long time to come. So if interested in it, put up on Friends of Anoiga, I'm interested, and we would love to have you. And I would also like to extend our sympathies to Leo for the death of his brother Sean, who was a great landscape photographer. And some of you may know or may not have known Peter Maloney, not Peter Maloney, Leo O'Connor. And he was involved with our 80th anniversary, but his wife was seriously ill at the time, and she died last Wednesday. So may all these people rest in peace, and all of the people who have been involved in our group all down through the years. So we're the people now left to go forward, and let's make it as good as what it was as the people who started it 80 years ago. So that's it. Thank you all for your time and patience, and let's keep on going forward. Thank you, Etna, for making me really look good, and Pat, who's put a huge amount of work in behind, and we're looking for more people to come forward and do these little interviews and whatever. We have lots of challenges doing it, and it's not you really have to put yourself out there when you do it, but I think it's worth it at the end. So goodbye to everybody. Thank you for your patience. Hope you enjoyed the live stream, and we look forward to seeing you in the next live stream. Take care and be good.